Welcome to Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. I'm Richard.
I'm Noah.
And today we're going to talk briefly about the 1999 horror film, The Blair Witch Project. If I had to spend more than 90 minutes listening to those three crab and piss and moan on screen, I would have been rooting for the witch. Welcome.
Does that feel good? Feel good?
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
I so regret suggesting this movie. This one was my idea, and whoo.
You regret it. It's okay. You gotta guess. They can't all be things that we completely enjoy. There's some entertainment in things that we despise.
Let's just, as a concept film for two amateur filmmakers, it was an interesting idea.
Yeah,
all right.
Interesting idea.
I am hoping that some of you are familiar with this one.
I think everyone is familiar with it. At least familiar with the concept of the Blair Witch Project.
And the idea of found footage of
course, all the spin-offs. There was Cloverfield did a found footage style film, but they did it with a budget and they did it better. And then there's all the the Insidious movies or Paranormal Activity. It's Paranormal Activity. I got the confirmation from my wife off screen, so I don't have to splash yes or no on the screen after the fact. The Paranormal Activity just existed based off of found footage, and it's
gotcha.
Yeah, this one caused a lot of it caused a bad trend.
So the concept of the film, if any of you don't know it, it's a 1999 movie written by Daniel Myrick, Eduardo Sanchez, and Heather Donahue. It's directed by Daniel Myrick and Eduardo Sanchez. The concept is that three film students vanish after traveling into a Maryland forest to film a documentary on the local Blair Witch legend. And the only thing that survives is the footage. Somebody finds their cameras.
Yep.
And enough plot holes to drive a train of semis through.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know where to start.
There's a lot.
Starring Heather Donahue, Michael G. Williams, and Joshua Leonard, playing three characters, oddly enough, named Heather, Michael, and Joshua. I recently read that just a couple of years ago, Heather Donahue changed her name and became a pot farmer.
Okay.
I'm going to suggest that maybe the pot you started a lot earlier than just a few years ago, because where to begin? What were your thoughts on? Had you seen this before?
I had, but not in any. I never paid attention to this movie.
Okay.
Like, obviously, everyone knows about the Blair Witch Project, at least in some capacity. If you've been alive since 1999, you've probably heard of it in something.
Right.
Again, it started the trend of found footage movies. Really, I mean, there's better ones that came before it, but when you talk about mainstream trendsetters, this is where the trend started.
Okay.
And again, yeah, in concept, okay, this is kind of cool. And I can see how marketing leading up to this thing coming out could be interesting.
Right.
All right. And I will give them props, as annoying as those three are to listen to throughout this whole film.
Mm-hmm.
If this was scripted, like it was written like three people lost in the woods experiencing some paranormal shit. Because in a few of those scenes sounded like people were just having a mental breakdown from being lost and aggravated from getting lost. It really feels like these guys were filming an amateur movie and actually got lost and then just stitched it together into a horror flick.
Actually, no. I did do a little bit of research on this movie after I watched it. Yeah. I started reading about it. A lot of this movie was ad-libbed. And
I mean, that would explain why it sounded
Yes.
A little more natural. The dialogue it sounded a little more, that understands.
I'm surprised there's writing credits at all for this movie.
Yeah.
Right, but they had a direction. They knew which way they wanted to.
They had an outline for how they wanted to do it. It's a very weird movie to talk about because it's so strange.
I got done watching the movie, and when I realized I was rooting for the Blair Witch,
I was too.
Because these were three of the most annoying people on the face of the earth. And how many times have we said this before about other movies? The movie never gave us a reason to care about these characters. No. And that was the crucial flaw of this movie.
At the end of the day, it is a movie.
Right.
There was a concept and a story.
Yes.
Somewhere in there.
Yep.
And this is... I was recently reintroduced to the plot of Cloverfield. I haven't seen it. Again, that's another one I haven't seen in years. That one had a bit more of it had a script, and it had a bit of a character arc to it. It wasn't great, from what I remember, but there was at least like a story about two people and a theme with those two people running through the whole thing. This movie doesn't.
No.
This movie has none of that, which is a flaw. So, like, if it comes out and you're marketing this as like, we found this footage in the woods and we stitched together what was left of it.
Right.
Cool. That's an interesting gag. It only works the one time.
Right.
It only works the one time. The minute everyone understands what this movie's shtick is, the gig's up. You're done.
Yep.
The movie loses any credibility in terms of covering up for its massive glaring mistakes.
Yes.
Because it is a movie at the end of the day. So it has no replay value.
Well, it would have benefited from a tighter script. It would have benefited from a little more structure.
Yep.
And I think the massive plot holes would have been filled if they had thought this out just a little bit. Props for the experiment.
Yes.
Right.
Oh yeah.
And it did set off a trend. I mean, it's not a complete failure.
Yeah.
For me, and I mean, this is I think the first time I've said this on Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches. This earned a 100% rating on the Napoleon Bonaparte scale.
Wow.
This is the second movie in my life where I sat back and said, "Oof, there are 90 minutes of my life I will never get back."
You say Napoleon Bonaparte, Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, Dynamite. Oh my goodness, yeah, the Napoleon Dynamite scale.
You said Bonaparte.
Yeah. I did say Bonaparte. Yeah, I did. No, you're right. It's the Napoleon Dynamite scale.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, screwed that up. That's okay. Because that's the first movie that I watched, and I made that observation to your mom yesterday, and she just looked at me and started laughing and said, "Oh, you have to rewatch that movie. It's a riot." I'm like, no. No, I'd rather get.
You want to enjoy it.
I'd rather get a tooth drilled than go see Napoleon Dynamite again. Oh goodness.
Oh yeah. I was sitting there with my buddy. We're watching this, and we're like, because he's gotten into the film world as well.
And he's a big fan of this movie. He loves this movie. He could not stop raving about this movie. So I stood there with my jaw on the floor while he's standing there, and he's saying to me, "Don't tell me what you think. I'll watch the video next week." And I'm listening to him rave about this movie, and I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. But I think I poker faced it enough through this to, I hope so, at least.
He'll be the angriest comment. You'll know who he is. We're sitting here and we're looking at this, and we're like, okay, if you want us to believe that this is actually footage of the like footage of a film crew going out, even a minor one, we need some bloopers and some rough takes thrown in there. There's not enough extra there's not enough clips that start with 1 and action, and then they start speaking.
You're right.
There's not enough clips of that.
You're right. And a couple of bloopers.
Not enough hold for plane.
Hold
for plane. Hold for plane. Hold for train. Hold for car. None of that.
Which they actually probably had a lot of, because
they probably did have a lot of it because they were filming in the countryside.
Well, but they were filming they were filming in like a forest preserve type area. They're probably people interrupting. And, all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Like that. I think the only interesting part of this movie for me, and I have to honestly say, this one I truly enjoyed. This is an effect. The character Joshua is the first to disappear. Yeah. Right? And he's gone. And then it's not that night, but the following night, you hear his voice in the distance screaming and screaming for help. Yeah. And that was genuinely creepy. Well, and that was genuinely disturbing.
The trope of the monster mimicking the first person who got killed off it's become very overdone. It's become a very, very big cliche. Okay. So I'm not sure if he was actually supposed to be alive in that scene calling out for help, or if this was like the witch was supposed to be like mimicking his voice to draw the other people out. So like I'm just sitting there like, this is the oldest trick in horror history. Let's not,
It was after 80 minutes of drudgery. Yeah. It was a refreshing change. Yeah. Right. Yeah. They also the I'm sorry. The bundles of sticks were not creepy at all. The little freaking stick figures hanging in the trees. I'm just like, and anyone with twine, tape, and some sticks they found could make this. But I think it's that the next morning she steps out, or the morning after he disappears, or like 2 mornings, whatever. After Josh disappears. Mm-hmm. She steps outside, there's a bundle. It's wrapped in his shirt. Strips of his shirt. Right. Which that's where I was like, okay, that's a cool little attention to detail. Right. Too bad it's for a bundle of sticks. But the movie could have used a little more background on the symbols, the Blair Witch symbols. Like, come on, these guys are supposed to be researching a legend. They should have had more info on this. You could have set the tone a little bit earlier. You could have put more stuff. Like, I'm not going to criticize them too much. They were very. I like the ambition. The ambition
is great.
The ambition.
The ambition is great. I
like the effort.
This was just. Yeah, it's ruined by age. Like age and knowing the concept before you get into it and
well, okay,
it's so
I didn't. Interestingly enough, this movie came out, you were quite young.
It was 99, so I was 3.
Yeah. And I had no desire to see this. Your mom had no desire to see this. I read all the newspaper articles on it. And, but it just, I don't know, it didn't interest me then. Yeah. It was more of a curiosity for this week now.
Yeah, exactly. It's Halloween month, so...
Yeah, so we decided to do it, and really, this might, be one of the shortest pork chops, rice, and peaches episodes we ever filmed.
It might be one of them.
There's not a lot to say.
It's mostly just fun little nitpicks that are just hilarious.
Like
that I've got.
Cub Scouts with a night's camping could have done better planning living in the woods than those 3.
Yeah.
And today I'm driving, home from the store, and I'm like, did the guy really say he kicked the map into the creek?
Yes.
Kicked the map into the creek.
Yeah.
I needed to see that. I needed to,
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the whole premise of this movie is ruined by just this sentence. Why the f*** are you still recording? And they say it multiple times.
Yes, they do.
But if the audience is saying that, the premise is kind of shot. I love that despite all the terror they're facing every day, the backpack is still the exact same as the day before. It's completely, perfectly packed. They're not, they're terrified, but they still manage to pack everything in perfectly. And I'll tell you,
doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. You will never pack your stuff back in on a camping trip as well as you packed going out.
Yep.
Ever.
Yep.
I love it's the now, I guess you could say iconic, if you want to call this movie iconic in any capacity, the close shot of her face at the end. She's like, we're being hunted. And my buddy and I just look at each other and we're just like, oh, honey, that's the wrong word. Hunted implies you have a chance of surviving. Yeah. It's amazing that the camera batteries lasted as long as they did. I was like, what, 6 days?
They had a lot of camera They did say at the beginning they had a lot of.
Oh, did they?
Yeah,
okay, maybe I'll let that one slide.
And they were really. This was lithium batteries before lithium batteries were widely known.
How much poison ivy was in those woods? How much do you think?
It had to be low.
I'm just looking at that. I'm like, this looks like a forest in the Midwest. There should be poison ivy everywhere. Yeah. So the real funny. I love the feature on Amazon, the X-ray feature on Amazon.
Oh, the little column off to the left where you can read all the interesting facts?
Or the actors on the bottom sometimes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So, and this is not me making fun of the person, but there was a name at the bottom that made me and my bud break out in hysterics. And right at the beginning of the movie, they're doing the interview segments, and there's the lady with the daughter.
Right.
And the daughter's picking her nose, and I'm like, yeah, that's not acting. That's just talent. The lady, we had to pause it several times because we were laughing so hard. But the lady we saw in the X-ray vision, I believe the actress's name is Susie, the most unfortunate last name, Gooch.
Ooh. Ouch.
I'm sorry, that just made my day.
I
that absolutely made my day, and it reminded both of us of a time when we were deployed together, because we were deployed together. We went to one of the dining facilities. This is completely off topic, but it came up while we were watching. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, you remember that time we went to the DFAC and there was a plate of it was supposed to be pound cake. It was supposed to be pound cake, and it was pound cake, but the label, and I'll splash it up because I took a picture, the label says poon cake.
An unfortunate typo.
So it was hand-drawn.
Oh, it is Susie Gooch.
Yeah, it is.
I
not to make fun of someone, I had a beer at that point, and I'm sitting there and I'm watching that, and I was already along for the hilarity ride.
I enjoyed the attempts to capture the feel of a documentary by having all of those man on the street interviews. Those were fun. That was good.
Yeah,
the movie. It was a good point of
the movie actually starts like the premise is the strongest at like the beginning of the movie, and the beginning of the movie is the strongest part of the movie.
Yes, it is.
So far, they just could have used it more widely. Did you catch why they kept talking about the doctor in the beginning? They kept talking about the doctor kidnapping kids in the 1940s, and I'm like, what does this have to do with the witch?
Yeah. I don't know.
I got nothing. I don't know why. If someone could explain that, what the connection was supposed to be, I have no idea. I don't think I paid attention enough.
I was gonna make a point of I
think I saw too many leaves.
Watch a found footage movie again if I have to take a Dramamine to watch it. I mean, it was. I found myself having to look away from the television screen a lot.
Yeah, I bet
because of how shaky it was. And the only reason I really didn't say anything is. I absolutely loved Godzilla -1, but I wouldn't have made it through that movie without a Dramamine because the up close action just had me, was your mom who gave it to me in the middle of the movie, and I made it through it. So I'm really sensitive to that motion stuff. Yeah. So
I'll stay away from found footage in the future, most likely.
You know what? And what I kept wondering was, am I going to miss something because I have to keep glancing away from the screen? And
I don't think you did.
No, I don't think so.
I don't think you missed anything.
No,
it's like the same 3 patches of woods. Pretty sure they were just in one area. There's
the concept that they head south and they end up back where they're at. They head east, they end up back where they're at. And of course, the one guy said, "Let's follow the creek," and then they said no. And then they ended up back at the creek, and so they went in a different direction. They ended up back at the creek, and they went in a third different direction. And I'm like,
This concept
follow the creek.
This concept of like, okay, let's assume that this witch has done some magic stuff to the forest,
right?
And they're stuck in an eternal loop of coming back,
right?
You know, like they can never leave the forest. That whole concept has been done so much better in so many other, you know.
So here's just my question. How did everybody find the footage?
That's what I was asking at the end of this movie too. And I'm like, okay. And then, you know, the last thing that could have helped is just right at the end, instead of just seeing him in the corner and then the camera drops, like the last thing of the movie while it's doing the shake buzz at the end would just be to see like a head with like shaggy hair and like pale face, gaunt, and something just look down like half in the camera.
Right.
That would have given us something.
Yes, it would have. Was he hanging? Was Michael hanging
I couldn't tell.
In the corner?
I don't think so. I think he was just standing in the corner. He looked grounded. Is what he looked like. He was grounded. Yeah. It looked like someone put him in the timeout corner with a dunce cap.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Blair Witch Project. Wow, do I regret that one.
No offense if this is one of your favorites. It's just not for us. But we've watched it. What are your thoughts on the Blair Witch Project? Go ahead and drop them in the comment section down below.
I'd say if you like the content, subscribe, but I don't think this is going to be the episode to get a lot of subscriptions.
I don't think it will either.
But we're coming back next week with, what are we watching? We have it picked out next week.
Halloween, the original Halloween.
That's right, the original Halloween.
And it's going to come out on Halloween.
And I'm actually looking forward to watching. I have not seen that one since my submarine days.
All right, yeah.
It's going back a ways.
That's Halloween.
Yeah, all right. Thanks for tuning into this episode of Pork Chops, Rice, and Peaches.
And we'll see you next time.
That was a horrible movie.
It was so bad.
Okay, the redeeming quality of this was what I did to Brendan.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
He's going to be screaming at the computer.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he is.